All right, so here we go. And the next part, part two, it says find the circumference and area of each. Use the pi key on your calculator. Again, depending on the answer, we'll use the pi key if we need to. If it's a decimal, but if it's not, we won't. So circumference and area. So we know the circumference is 2 pi r. And again, we did the formulas up top, but again, it's going to be 2 times pi multiplied by the radius, which they give us in this case. So in this case, my my circumference is simply just going to be 24 pi, and I can totally just keep it like that. As far as the area goes, we know it's going to be pi multiplied by the radius squared. So in this case, it's just going to be 144 pi. 12 squared is 144 times pi. All right, in this case, we know that the circumference is going to be, well, in this case, we have the diameter, right? So we know that the radius is going to be half of that, which is just going to be 6.25, right? So, that over 2. And then we can say, well, the circumference, right, is just going to be, there's not enough room. I should have given you more room. You can use the back if you want, but circumference is going to be 2 times pi times the radius 6.25, which again will just be 12.5 pi. But because it's a decimal and a pi, we're going to get a value and round to the nearest tenth, like it says, and so that's going to be 39.3. It looks like. So the circumference equals 39.3, and again, that is in feet. Sorry, this should be in meters. Go back at the end and go hit all the other ones like I said it would from the first page. All right, as far as area goes, and again, we can just separate this problem. Area is going to be pi times r squared, so pi times the radius, which is 6.25 squared. So 6.25 squared, it is, shoot, it's not that. Hold on, hit the wrong button. It's 39.06, and of course we're going to multiply that by pi, and so we're going to get 122.7 after rounding. So the area is 122.7, and this is going to be square feet. All right, square feet after rounding. Okay, in this case, it's 1/2 miles. So the diameter, so we know that 1/4, right? So half of a diameter will just give me the radius, and then half of a half is a quarter. So we can basically say that 2 times pi times 1/4, right? And this I can simplify enough to get the circumference here. So that would just end up being, multiply across, we get 2 pi times over 4, and that would just be 1/2 pi, right? Or pi over 2. So, I mean, this simplifies that. Might as well show you. This would just be basically, 2 pi over 4, which again would simplify just to sort of 1 pi over 4, 1 pi over 2, right? So just pi over 2 is the circumference, and the area is going to be pi times r, which I know is 1/4 squared. 1/4 squared is going to be 1 squared over 4 squared, which is 1/16. So it's going to be 1/16 times pi, which just gives me pi over 16. So, and again, these units that's going to be miles, and that's going to be square miles. All right, next one, we want to find the area. Okay, so in this case, if we have the area of a square, we know that it's going to be side squared. So take whatever the side is and square it. So in this case, 9.1 is our side, so we're going to square 9.1, and we get 82.89. So 82.89 is just 9.1 squared, which is just, and that's going to be an area, so we have square yards. Okay, in this case, we have x plus 1 squared, do a little FOIL, we get x squared, we get plus 2x, and we get plus 2. And so this is going to be sort of our answer here. A triangle whose base is 5.5. All right, and whose height is 2.5. Okay, so we're trying to find the area. We know in a triangle it's 1/2 base times height. So our base is 5.5. Again, let's just go with 5.5. And our height is going to be 2.25, so that's just 2.25. And we get half of that. And we could sort of get this out here. So let's do 0.5 times 5.5 times 2.25, and we end up with 6.1875. Sorry, I said that. So 6.1875, and which is just going to be sick. I mean, if we wanted to change it, where's my cursor? Don't know. Let's go still with red, it's fine. But that is our area. And then this is going to be square inches. All right, again, just to sort of get our final answers here. I can do a little underlining, but let's finish them out. Ooh, more than I thought. Okay, diameter of a circle with the given measurements. All right, so we want to find the diameter. So in this case, if we're trying to find, we know the circumference is 14, so that we know that the circumference is also 2 times pi times r. So if we divide both sides by 2 pi, right, we're going to end up with r equals basically 7 over pi, because it'll be 14 over 2 is just 7, and then keep the pi on the bottom. So 7 divided by pi, and then is the radius. So 2 times that is going to be the diameter, which is just going to be 14 over pi, right? Double it. Double the numerator anyway. So there would be our diameter. In this case, we have the area is also pi r squared. So we can set these equal to each other. So we know 100 pi equals pi r squared. We could divide both sides by pi. They cancel out. We could take the square root of both sides. And again, we're talking about a radius, so we know we're going to keep the positive value of the square root. So our radius is just 10, which means our diameter is double that, or just 20. All right, we know the circumference is 50 pi, which it says right there. Actually, we know the circumference is also 2 pi r. So because it's 2 pi, there you go, 2 pi r, I can just say, well, 50 pi equals 2 pi r. Divide both sides by pi, those cancel. Divide both sides by 2, we get 25 equals the radius, which means the diameter is double that, or 50. All right. And this one says leave answers in terms of pi, so leave the pi in there. All right, this is a circular tabletop. It has an area of that, which is the closest to the radius. So essentially, we're saying we know the area of a circle is going to be pi r squared. We know that it's also going to be 452. So we're basically solving for the radius. We divide both sides by pi. So 452 divided by pi is going to give us 100 about. And because it says about, right, which is closest, we're okay with rounding in this case. So we get the radius squared equals about 143.876. I take the square root of both sides and get the radius, which is just coming up right now. 11.99. So it's really about 12, right? It's 11.99 something, which is going to be 12. Okay. A piece of wire that is 48 meters long is bent to the shape of a rectangle whose length is twice its width. Okay, so in other words, we know that the perimeter of this, right? If it's a piece of wire bent into the rectangle, that's the perimeter of the rectangle. We know the perimeter is 2 times width, 2 times the width plus 2 times the length, and we also know that the perimeter is 48, and we also know that the length is twice its width, right? So 2 times the width equals the length, right? The length is twice as big, so we need more here. So we can stick all these equations sort of together. I can replace this P with 48. I can replace, the W, well, I'll keep the W, but I'm going to replace the L, right, with 2W. And this will allow me to sort of solve. We can get, well, that's 2W, that's going to be 4W, so 6W. We divide by 6, and we get the width has to be 8. So if the width is 8, double that makes the length, which is 16. And so we can find them there. And it says, what is the length? Well, the length is 16, which is here. I guess I should have bubbled that one in too. I don't know. All right. Which equation best represents the area of the triangle? So we have area equals 1/2 base times height. The base is 4x. The height is x plus 2. So 1/2, right, of that. So 1/2 of 4x is just 2x times x plus 2. So we can multiply this out. 2x times x is 2x squared. 2x times 2 is going to be 4x. So it looks like our area can be represented like so. I'm not going to have time to go back and show you the units there, but you should double check them because I'm going to go change them. And so wait, where is that? That looks like the top one, A to me. Awesome. See you guys in the next one. Great work. If you're watching this, keep it up. I'm sure it hopefully is helping.